Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict. I have guilty or innocent. Spare me this mockery of justice.
Yeah, so, it's just we'll call it censorship within schools, like the altering of an educational curriculum. But that's a far cry from saying that these books are banned. It's, just like some stupid idiots.
Removed from, right. They're removed from
Yeah.
school curriculum because they've outstayed their fucking welcome, which is totally rational.
Yeah, or well, except in the case of most, where you're like, well, what's the rationale? It seems as if it's very tone deaf. Because the book is very good. Like you said, Pulitzer Prize winning. It's not terribly offensive. It's very engaging. It's great for kids probably because it's cartoony and stuff like that.
Well, I just like that, I'm not calling somebody that works for a school board backwater.
Right.
But
I think they volunteer. So you can
but
call them backwater all you want.
Whoever the fuck sits around on a panel of common people and deems that a Pulitzer Prize winning book is no longer of literary value or learning value, that's fucking stupid on top of piles of stupid. Just in the scope of that fact alone.
Mm-hmm. Unless they had like a really good substitute, and I haven't read this thing. And
Billy, here's a doctor. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were like, I don't like mouse. I think, given my degree in pedagogy, that blah blah blah.
Still a far cry from a Pulitzer Prize, but hey, who's counting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what else is a far cry from a Pulitzer Prize?
Segue all to fucking hell. We love it.
But okay, so what brings us here? What brings us here today is a little. I honestly, I'm super curious about how this is going to go down. We're going to talk today about.
I'm ready.
Palladium Books presents Rifts by Kevin Siembieda. Siembieda? I don't know. We've never had to
Siembieda.
Yeah, I was trying to listen to it. The funny thing is there's so many interviews with this asshole on YouTube. And I could have just listened to one of them.
Siembieda.
Good enough.
Close
Nailed
enough.
it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
It's funny that we've played this game for so long and said this asshole's name because his art's so shitty. So long that we still can't say it. Siembieda. I think we
Yeah, I think that's where we landed. If Kevin, if you're listening, we're just gonna call you Kevin for the remainder of the episode.
Yeah, Kevin. If anybody from Palladium Books that's employed there, especially Kevin, the mastermind himself, the fucking Mac Daddy of Palladium system. If you want to just throw us a fucking thumbs up, go ahead.
Yeah, you and Kevin Long, please.
You probably have as many fans as we do.
So this baby dropped in August 1990, I think it was. After Palladium. Kevin, he worked as an interior artist, I gather, in old D&D manuals. So he's got a background in
a pedigree, you might say.
Yeah. And it shows in the art that he produces, right? I kind of want to look at those old things and look at his shitty art because, man, fuck, he sucks.
Oh yeah, I've got the. Well, yeah, okay. Listen, he does. He's not a great artist. That's fucking. But this the architect of Rifts is a great man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's the fourth printing, March 1992. It looks like he's got some copyrights that go all the way back to 1983.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I think it has to do with the Palladium game, which is I was kind of given the rundown. I've got the 14th printing. Jesus.
Oh man, I got a fucking hot one here then.
Yeah. Probably has a squished bug in it.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think back in 80.
Shady.
I don't know when he started doing mechanoids, and his original game was the Palladium game because he did a spin-off. Like his original game was like a D&D ripoff using his system. Which I've played a little bit. It was, it was fine. But I think Palladium, we owe modern day Palladium, as you know, to the Ninja Turtles role-playing game and also to Robotech.
Right. Yeah, Robotech and the Ninja Turtles were all the same. Really, and I know this is sort of a hack and slash thing, and it's not actually really truly compatible, but it is partially compatible. Like a good GM like yourself could bring a Robotech ship into this world if they were so inclined, or a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, no, that's one thing about the Palladium system is like it sucks, but it's very compatible. Like it's very self-contained. Like you can, like they've got Nightbane and I don't know, Heroes Unlimited, Ninjas and Super Spies, whatever else they produced. And yeah, you could do all of it. And Rifts was kind of the way to bring it all together. What do we want to, for anyone who hasn't, I don't imagine anyone listening to this hasn't played or been exposed to Rifts, but let's pretend for a moment that they haven't. I'll have shared the cover of Rifts as the main image of this episode, so people can get a sense of what.
Yeah,
well,
like you referenced, it's a tabletop role playing game. It's a la Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
and I think the Ninja Turtles role playing game had a lot of exposure after the bomb, and
yeah, I think I would want
for a certain age group.
Yeah, it was a big seller for them amongst nerds and stuff like that. Like Rifts is it's a post-apocalyptic horror fantasy world, I guess, with also like high tech, mecha and stuff like that. So you got the best of wizards, you got the best of robots, you got the best of monsters.
It's kind of like a Rick and Morty if the portals stayed open.
Oh my goodness, that's perfect. Yeah, man. That's what the Rifts are. Yep. Yeah. So yeah,
that's
these
kind of weird, but
yeah. It actually kind of like thinking about it like that you could, but the thing is, you could never do a Rick and Morty adventure with Rifts. Like it's too hardcore, it's too metal. It's more Scott Snyder than it is Rick and Morty.
Bad metal. It's true. You need armor. You need to. You need guns. It's a grimy place.
Yeah. So I don't know what God, the thing is I don't know where to begin. Your favorite bits, what's your favorite character class out of all of them? Let's maybe start with that. See where that takes us.
Oh, well, I mean that's changing now that I'm older.
Okay.
I think that I think that those like low down character classes are like more appeal to me now.
Okay.
Like I would think it would be fun to make like a city rat and do or like a fucking vagabond or something. Those character classes we used to make fun of because you didn't get like like you go with the juicer character class. I think would be like a typical character class that you'd open up an adventure with, just because you get like a pop on the powers. The wizards in this were underpowered and difficult to play, and then you'd usually just go with like some kind of a coalition officer and then try and break him away from his Nazi armada or whatever would be the best way to go, because you'd get better equipment and skills.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, okay. So anyone listening, like the juicers are people who are like they're kind of like Bane before Bane existed. So they're all juiced up, man, and but it gives them like superpowers, but it also brings them down to like it gives them like a lifespan of about 4 years. So it's basically
and it gives sort of a hilarious detox option that would completely devalue your character to the point where he was basically unusable, which is kind of hilarious also. If you were to play a long campaign and try to reboot your guy, then I feel like they gave you like greasy options to convert to like a cyborg, or there's a lot of moving parts. But yeah, a character class I think would be more fun with a more of a standard character. But the game is so customizable too. Like your game master could just really just adjust hardware and play with any character really.
Yeah, easily. The yeah, there's what's the you can do cyberpunk, you can do just like your straight up post-apocalyptic landscapes, wilderness. One of them I always, like vagabond non-skilled. What the fuck? That's such a
You could do
bum.
you could
To be
do
a bum.
you could run military operations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can,
psychics,
yeah,
crazies.
you could do like inner city. You could do like an inner city kind of steampunk thing if you wanted, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, anything. And then it's like you said, there's wizards. At the early levels of experience, they were extremely underpowered, and like if you were like a ley line walker or whatever they were called, like at a certain point you kind of got badass. But we never had the patience for that because like the experience, like it takes so long to go up
Yeah,
experience
you'd have
levels.
to be way up in levels.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
tried to adjust over time. The series tried to adjust over time, I think, to make magic stronger. But like most things with rifts, like anytime, like it was just a constant race to make the game unusable. Just like, just like,
Well, the main book was very complete. The difficulty
mm,
with the system is the main book is very complete, and it's also very self-contained. Like the first, let's say, 5 world books and source books surrounding it were a very good system, and then everything was very compatible. So like
mm,
you can't take that and you can't make adjustments to it without revising the first book completely. And obviously, Kevin, we love you, buddy, but he was not willing to revise the first book completely. You'd have
mhm.
to change the rules. You'd have to change the experience sets. You'd have to change the payouts and the loadouts for the weapons. It would have to be a complete rework if and go to like a fucking Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah, yeah, like
where you
second
go.
edition,
Yeah, where you go to
Yeah.
like fucking 4th, 5th edition, you're getting a completely different game. It's reworked, it's retooled. You would need to do that if you wanted to like advance the books and sort of correct the way that the levels work. For me, I didn't see a lot of value in that. I mean, the game was good as it is. Like, if you really want to, man, fucking slog that wizard out to level 20 like a man.
Yeah, yeah. uh, yeah,
Get
I
your
like to.
get your legs shot off and just drag through the adventures.
Hmm. I liked. I guess kind of an elephant in the room, or not an elephant in the room, but kind of a big deal is this notion of the coalition. Like Rifts is a really funny system because on the one hand, the main villain are straight up Nazis, and they're not just Nazis; they're American Nazis of the
Yeah.
future. And so it's always about like the DBs, the dimensional beings, being like persecuted and driven and forced to huddle together against their like Nazi enemies. But at the same time, like this Rifts is really racist. Speaking of like things that shouldn't be in school curriculum nowadays, like there isn't a cultural, not racist, but it's definitely like it traffics in intense stereotypes. So
Yeah.
like you can't just be Mexican. You have to be like the Mexican bandit. Or like if you I'm trying to think about like if you go to Eastern Europe, there's going to be gypsies, and they're just going to call them gypsies.
Yeah.
And
Straight up
and
fucking gypsy hustler character
Yeah.
class.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I forget
Only
what it, yeah, but
only in America do you get to have a military specialist.
yeah, just a boring old military specialist. I'm that or Quebec, and I never looked at the Russian books, but I just get like if you go to Japan, it's all like dragons and
Fucking
ninjas
samurais,
and
man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Obviously, clearly, they
yeah,
carry swords.
yeah. And you go to South America, and it's all themed on like the Incan gods and stuff like that. And you go to Africa, and oh, good God.
Listen,
You
it's
know what I
all
mean?
there for you. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
have to do. Yeah. Well, the system is very complex, and the world's actually really well built with
Mhm.
the great Aaron Tarn narration for the main book. So like, you know, I don't know. I don't. Geez, I know it's a cheap way that he did it, but I just don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, no, it's charming.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to it just doesn't, you don't require a lot of thought, especially in terms of like, if I'm going to design 15 or 20 world books, what's the fucking dumbest, cheapest way for me to just like get a template on throwing a hot dog down the hallway on like an art design for the characters and the theme of the book? Well, just fucking go with whatever the goddamn like general fucking history of the country is, and just sort of like chew off of that, you know, whatever shitty religious stereotype or whatever tribal artwork or jewelry, and just sort of go from there.
Yeah, no, I get it. But here's maybe where it becomes a little less like when you start thinking about it, and I definitely don't want to derail this into a like Riffs is problematic, because like maybe let's just say for the remainder of this conversation, Riffs is highly problematic. But I just want to point out one thing. There's a number of things I could point out, and I'm sure they'll come up again. But so where do all the vampires live? Like they're all, even though like vampires aren't, you know, I guess they're Transylvanian or whatever. Usually like they're kind of an Eastern European thing. But in Riffs, all the vampires come from Mexico and South America and stuff like that. And they cannot be killed. They are invaders. They are control, you know, and it's just like this invading infestation that's just like moving upwards into North America. And you just, you know, you just find yourself
read into that a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. It like a lot. And it's it's things like that, you know. And like Kevin, you know, I'm sure you're a fine fella, but the subconscious works in very strange ways. And you know, I don't know enough about the guy to know whether or not there's any sort of weirdness in his thinking, but you know, he's just a weird guy. And you're right, James. Like you just pick a theme and an idea, and you just be shameless about it. And it's making me think of, hearing you say that makes me think of Riffs as a B movie universe in a way that I wasn't thinking about before.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. It reminds me of oh man, what's that fucking movie recently that was like a shitty B movie that was really short, where the guy fought dinosaurs and Nazis, and can't remember the name of it.
I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, definitely like what you just described is
it evokes that world where like you can
but the funny thing is, so it has a B movie sensibility, but it takes itself very seriously, and like it's, like I said, metal and dark, you know, and it's trying to be Terminator, but what it's actually being is I guess the Roger Corman version of whatever fucking Terminator would be. It would just be like, you know,
I come in peace.
I come, yeah, it's more I come in peace.
Like it just takes itself so severe and comes off fucking absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So
ridiculously awesome.
Yeah, right.
So what's your favorite character class?
Well, actually, after I asked that question, I don't know if I have a favorite. I did always enjoy playing the Nazis. Like I loved playing in the main book. I liked coalition soldiers, because you could be a special forces guy, right? You could military specialist. I think that I always gravitated towards that. And I didn't care for the crazies or the juicers.
Oh, you had a crazy was one of your first characters, you know, not to go back and reminisce on anything, but but that was an early shot, I think, from your end.
Yeah, that might be true. Well, it was it's crazy, right? You know, so a crazy is someone who has psychic powers, but has had like it's called mind over matter works technology imposed on his brain to make his psionic powers stronger. But in doing so, it makes you insane. And so like Riffs is horrific. Like if you're thinking about like what a nightmare world. where there's
this
monsters
would be
everywhere.
a
And
terrible place to be.
yeah. And I don't think that gets sold enough. Like the degree of starvation and deprivation that everybody would experience, like it's a it's a rough place, to say the least. Because there's like stuff. The thing with the rifts is that there's always monsters coming in through the rifts, and the monsters are sometimes like highly intelligent, or extremely powerful, and it's just like the earth is constantly changing. And I think that also makes, I don't know if it complexifies or adds any sort of sympathy, but to the Nazis. But the coalition forces, like they do live on a nightmare world, and like, is it strange to think that maybe fascism is the appropriate response to a nightmare world? I don't know.
Like an overreaction.
Mhm.
Is just the like sort of the like immediately all people and resources and food and money have to be drastically controlled and reined in.
And directed only towards the humans who remain on this nightmare world. And we got to just keep the outsiders out. And it's not like, and you're like, oh, but what about the X-Men, man? What about living in harmony? But like, there's demons out there, like literal fucking demons. It's not just a metaphor. It's there's actual monsters out there in the dark. But there's also,
there's literally like grotesque slave trading psychic magical demon monsters, like
Mhm.
like awful shit. Like, and they're more than comfortable interacting in like basically like a horrible slave market.
Yeah,
Like
and it.
it was like just like shitting Star Wars on Earth, sort of, but with all the worst things. Like, I mean, and I guess that's up to your palate, if you want to include prostitution, but I mean, like, they give you enough like nightmare scenarios that you don't have to include much.
No, but if you can go down any back alley you want, particularly with like what you're talking about Atlantis.
Yeah.
And like
The human trafficking card's right there for you to play.
Yeah, and like not just human trafficking, but like that's the funny thing about Atlantis is like, what if what if what if the Lovecraftian horrors were also sex traders, and what if fucking or they come from another dimension and they can't be described, and they're also like they want to sell you pills, and first one's free. And it's but they all live in pyramids and stuff like that. Like that element of rifts is very intriguing to me. I've always really like. I guess I'll change the question. Like, what do I don't have a favorite character, but I have a favorite setting, and it's definitely Atlantis with the Splugorth and stuff like that. I just think that they just have all these horrors.
You think he hit it out of the park with that particular set of horrors?
I think so. Yeah, and that book's very intriguing, like with the true Atlanteans and stuff like that. And there's like this, the Sunaj assassins and all the tattoo warriors, and it's very alien. And it's also like it's got a huge backstory, a lot of just really intriguing and exciting concepts. And then also like you get a basic geography of Atlantis, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I just remember like coming back to it over and over, and like every time I'll flip through the books, like I'm gonna go to Atlantis. I'm gonna check it out.
It's definitely like one of the. I think Atlantis was one of the deeper books. Not to, because like that's like once we get to the lay of the land, if this is a comfortable telling of these books, we can always go back and sort of individually dip into each one.
Yeah, actually, that'd be a lot of fun. Because just to like very specifically get into all the various themes that we're kind of bringing up, a lot of the books they're not all created equal. Like, no,
not at all. And a lot of the stuff, like, the main book just had so many things. Like, there's just little details, like things like like I'm gonna get into like optional rules, mental ailments,
Like you could roll
insanities.
Yeah.
You can just add these things, drug addictions, stuff like no punches were really pulled here. You could really get into like this grimy street level. And this first book really gave to that. I feel like he wanted you to play this first book in a fucking dirty alleyway, making deals with Nazis and fighting fucking gargoyles out in the street.
Yeah, I think so too. That's basically what it sets you up for. Either that or some sort of wilderness, mercenary campaign or something like that. We all gotta give it up before we talk more about like the book. We gotta give it up to Kevin Long, whose art really sells this book in far more than anyone else's. Like this comes to life because of him.
Yeah, apologies for not bringing up Kevin Long earlier in the conversation.
Well,
he is he's like you say, he's the guy that brings it to life. Like in no small feat of amazingness did Kevin fucking design this somehow. The amount of work that would have gone into this makes me want to throw up a bit. But yeah, without Kevin Long like realizing like, and it's just little things, just like his work on drawing like the odd side street. I'm looking at one on page 150, level 4 with the tram and the lift and it's just like a little alleyway picture. It's just little tidbits that he gave to bring it to life. His weapon schematics and vehicle schematics, where you're looking directly at the rifle you're holding, the rocket launcher, everything's kind of disassembled and broken down. All his helmet, you just little things like his helmet work or his mechs. And then he had there were a few people involved too, like TM. I don't know who that was.
I have to look at the table of contents. Yeah, go on.
He did a fair job as well, but I mean, even this like Glitter Boy teardown that Long did, it's crazy. He's got pictures of the heads up display, ventilation, the optics for the suit, little fucking handle nuances, all that shit made you feel like, like you were there, or that if you had that equipment, oh shit, you could just keep your book open to that page, just stare at your fucking rifle. That's the sweet science right there. That's part of the D&D thing too, to sit around and like imagine your little fucking dwarf or
sword,
fucking or your little whatever, your little woodland elf, whatever you got going on.
Yeah, and the cover art by Keith Parkinson, who also did some interior paintings and stuff. There's those full color inserts at the center, and those are nice too. That's Matt, that original cover image, that's very
pretty much painting of the Splugorth.
Yeah, and with all of his,
that's a hot seller right there. That's got to literally get that book moving off the shelf.
Yeah, because it's high fantasy art. It's got all the elements that we were talking about, like the allure of the sexy lady serving. It has
literal fantasy boobs on it.
Yeah, because that guy's kind of like he's kind of like Boba Fett in this instance, like he's got these like slave women and stuff like that, and and these floating eyeballs, skulls, and it's it definitely, and they haven't gotten rid of it. And if you want to buy riffs nowadays, this is the cover. And
what are you going to get rid of that for?
Yeah.
And
what are you going to replace it with?
I don't know how they even got away with that cover. Like on a comic book store newsstand. I guess Heavy Metal doesn't.
Yeah, this isn't
any
bad.
better or worse, right?
Yeah. This is just like, it's really not. I mean, like maybe the closest thing to saying that they're like they're wearing thongs. So that's practical when you've got like heavy weaponry and you're defending a giant tentacle porn creature.
Well, really, I mean, you're going to be focused on the porn creature, the horrible tentacle monster.
Yeah.
I would be. I'd be like, that's an issue right there. That's a big problem for me.
He's carrying a staff. Is that an
The
eyeball?
blind booby girls I wouldn't even be focused on at all. That'd be like the least of my worries.
Yeah. So. And yeah, the whole series is mapped on to present day. Like, it's supposed to take place like 2000 or like 1,000 years in the future, or I don't know, maybe less, maybe more. But at the same time, like, Toronto is still a place, but it's Laszlo, Michigan, Detroit, all the major cities are still the major cities. The only thing that's really different to my mind is free Quebec. Like, what the fuck? It's like, I know that Quebec was like a separatist nation, and so like Kevin was like, "Oh, I'll work with that."
I was gonna say, you think that was just like a gag?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, for sure.
Like, he was just like, oh, they might have been doing a separatist thing. Maybe Jean Chrétien was having his way that fucking at that time, and whenever Kevin was writing, and he was like, "This is hilarious."
Yeah. And not only that, they're going to be like a major superpower, and they'll have the glitter boys and stuff like that. Like it's just like it's an extrapolation of 1990s politics into the future, and 1990s like sort of ideas. Yeah, which that makes sense, right? It's in 1990s.
Yeah.
I like that one of the major actually, there's a lot of work into this. Like, there's Canada's old Sudbury, like, there's he even like goes into like the various cities of Ontario. But,
yeah, he you know what? They do that. One of my major complaints, I think, is just that there could have been better city mapping for like main play areas. And general mapping, that was kind of left to the GM a bit more than I'd care for.
You didn't start getting that very well done, and I think actually they kind of overdid it. But in the first World book, Vampires, Vampire Empire, whatever the fuck it's called, Vampire Nations, Kingdoms,
Vampire Kingdoms. And speaking of, remember when I was talking about them not making a revised main book?
Yeah.
Vampire Kingdom's got a complete revision.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I find that just a little odd.
That book was really weak and very strange. Like, I haven't compared the new version with the old version.
I don't know. Like, I actually got it from I can't remember. I think I actually got it from a comic store, like a local comic store. Right. Like the revised one. Right. And I just found it very bizarre that they had done like a complete revision and added material to that book of all things. Yeah, because they got to go back to England and redo that fucking book, because that one fucking. Yeah. There was a couple books that just Wormwood didn't hit. Like, they weren't even compatible. Yeah, that's one that Wormwood was a failure, because you're right. It wasn't very compatible. Like, you could take in maybe some of the characters, but once they left Wormwood, like the idea is that they're living on this like sentient planet, and it's got a different vibe, because it's got that Timothy Truman art, or I think that's who that was. Yeah, it's a completely different world, and cool. Wormwood was a different world, so you can include. But if you brought one of these guys back, with a pervert mask, like a fucking Leatherface, and he had 400 MDC, he's a walking fucking murder machine. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be splattering everybody. And you can wear that pervert mask just in alleys and bars. Then it didn't jive well with the system. Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the other characters were literally like part of the Earth, and so if they left Wormwood, they like started to die. I mean, that really slowed things down. Well, yeah, then you have to start fucking convoluting dumb ideas if you want to try to incorporate anything from the book into a campaign, which seemed to be like not the, like, once you got source book 1, you were like, all right, now we beefed up the fucking coalition. You got mechanoids. Okay, we got a weird alien fucking Terminator entity to fight against as well. And then, once you started getting those core books, it just seemed like they were feeding the main book. which was what you would want.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when it started to branch out, its branching out didn't work very well, and I think most of the time the branching out doesn't work very well. But when you're right, those early source books, it did feel like, yeah, we're building on this main core book, and that worked extremely well, particularly for us. But yeah, I just love these robots and stuff. Like they thinking about this as a B movie has really kind of changed everything for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking you had a fucking more wacky shit.
Yeah.
Like even seeing Siembieda's dragon, like it sort of had like a cybernetic eye and like fucking pouches, and it's like literally it's fucking flaming at me on page 99 right out of a fucking B movie. Like that fucking piece of shit, you could meet him down an alleyway, he could sell you some shitty meth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking about. I know what you mean. Like all of a sudden, sort of took me on a wacky. Like I know it's really metal, but like you could really go down a wacky path with this if you wanted, and we never really did that. We always took it for serious militaristic face value.
Yeah, and like getting over to page 90, the fucking techno wizards. Wearing all like flight suits and stuff like that, and you're just like, why did we take this seriously?
Yeah, this guy's a fucking pervert. He he could be. He looks like he's like a fucking airline pilot from the 30s.
Oh yeah.
Just being like, back in my day, we used to shoot down scumbags. Very weird. And then if you go over to like, I'm looking at the Zydakicks now and thinking, man, we thought that was like this grotesque like hive of monsters, but now that I'm thinking, you could probably have fucking used them like sand people and kind of done that in a hilarious way.
Yeah, or even like a game of like Tremor. Like you. I mean that maybe that's a bad example. I don't know if you've seen Tremor recently, but with the giant sand. Go on.
Yeah, with the giant sandworms.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it recently, but I wish I had.
That's fine.
Did you see the color images too? Make it look like fucking bad. It almost looks like the Cyber Knight and the DB companion ride through the snow-covered forest. Literally looks like the fucking 1980 whatever Conan the Barbarian movie.
Yeah, that's art that's got to be art that they just took unused from the Palladium game, and they were like, you know what, we're going to call that guy a Cyber Knight, and we'll call the other guy his DB companion, and we'll just put it in the book. Like this is like the cheapest. And the same thing with this tiger lady, mystic druid, far from her home in England.
No, that's what's wrong with that. It's a great.
She's got a fucking tiger with her and a fucking meerkat. What is that?
Yeah, there's a couple fucking badgers in the back there too that I just noticed.
Oh yeah, holy fuck. Yeah, she's got
command over the fucking forest. What's wrong with that? She's like what's his fucking name that fought Spider-Man,
Oh, Kraven?
Yeah. She's Kraven like Kraven the Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah.
With no musculature at all, just sort of slutty.
Yeah, well, I don't know. She could probably beat you up. She's reminds
fit. Me. Yeah, she could kick the shit out of me. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, reminds me of Leo. There was a Doctor Who companion around this time. Tom Baker's companion named Leela, and she was like a warrior princess type lady, kind of like this. Same sort of busty for the dad build.
Yeah, it's very nice. But you could, my big thing here is like I'm thinking about like a greasy full conversion Borg with like a heavy mega damage weapon. Like what the fuck? This woman has no place in this story.
Yeah. Or she'll need to hide. Like she can't be badass. She'll have to sneak around and stuff like that. And
but it's like you say, it looks like the art's just like fucking cheaply commissioned from something else. Because like really, if I was commissioning my own art, I would at least put a mega damage pistol from my book on her hip, or some kind of a skeleton, like a shell armor or something that I could at least say, okay, that's a mega damage chest piece or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like these, they don't appear connected. Only the Kevin Long stuff does. Even the stuff like Larry McDougall on typical operator in traveling clothes, like the wild Psy Stalker. Like these are just drawings they're just drawings. It's, they,
I mean, I
really-
bet you in some cases, these guys are probably fucking sitting around slushing the ham or whatever, and anybody that fired off a good drawing made it to the book.
Yeah, because this was
Maybe they
I would
used
just-
the Marvel method.
just draw something and I'll figure it out.
Burbs in the shadow of Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Gorgeous image. I'll draw that up right now. I'll start writing.
Mhm.
Start writing about the world.
Yeah. So I don't know what else to. I mean, there's a bunch of spells and stuff like that, and they all just kind of strike me as essentially rip-offs of D&D spells. But
What?
some of them times when
Just
you go
kidding.
through it, you're just, like every once in a while, one of them like jumps out at you, and you're like, shit, that's a cool power. That would be a big deal if I was a level 5 Lee Line Walker. Swim as a fish, superior. You might need that. Reduce self 6 inches. Like, what the fuck? And other times you're like, what? I don't understand. Like half a foot? That's stupid. It's instantly shrinks.
Animate and control the dead
Yeah, well, that sounds good. But then what? Like
from 400 feet.
there are a bunch of
5
like
minutes. I
there are
could
a bunch
have
of
a fucking
SDC
zombie.
creatures.
Speed 7, damage 1d6 from punch, bite, claw, or blunt weapon. And
Yeah.
only total destruction will stop an animated dead. Well, or fucking 5 minutes would lapse. Oh, per level of experience. 20 melee rounds for your first spell.
Yeah, so you get a couple.
20 melee rounds for first level of experience, but I mean, like, unless you could cast that en masse,
And create like a horde.
If I could fucking animate like 50 fucking bodies, you'd have a real problem on your hand, even with armor.
Yeah, I guess at the very least they'd like block your vision.
Well, it'd start
Yeah.
crawling all over you and
Yeah,
taking your
like
gun
World War
away
Z
and-
style. Yeah.
yeah. Well, no, they're slow as fuck according to this.
Oh, right. I like minor curse. I don't want to curse anyone very seriously.
No, yeah, you
Pimples,
gotta keep it
nausea.
fucking. Oh fuck! Hope that doesn't happen to me.
Hiccups. Ingrown toenail. This is fucking ridiculous. There's so
Sick
much.
bastard.
Yeah, that's so much work. At the same level as like negate magic, metamorphosis human. Oh, there's a luck curse. That sounds like an oxymoron.
Why would you know these spells? Globe of silence.
Yeah, well, you might need that.
Exorcism, but there's no fucking demons.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing that's missing, right? Like, strangely, yeah. But I can't even think of any book that really includes ghosts or haunting spirits, poltergeists, or any shit like that. Banishment maybe makes sense. Control/enslave entity, always helpful.
Metamorphosis insect. Jesus.
And then what are we talking about at the highest levels? Okay, so we got like level 12, summon and control rain, good. Time hole, Jesus. Level 13, level 14, impenetrable wall of force. We got dimensional portal, teleport superior. Yeah, and then at the highest levels, it just turns into your ability
Teleport
to.
superior. Jesus.
Yeah,
So if you're level 15, you're talking 300 miles per level of experience. So you could basically start teleporting it anywhere around the world at any point in time. That's probably vaulted if you're on a ley line.
Yeah,
and then,
I think.
Then you're at it. You could add 1,000 pounds to your teleport.
Yeah, but in order to get that kind of level, like you have to be like in a god. Like you can never get to these heights. And I guess once you get there, then that's a good thing to have, but it costs like 600 PPE. No Leeline walker is ever going to have that amount. You're going to have to be dealing with some sort of like dragon or something like that. And this is yeah. So you're like, I don't know, what's the point of all this? Like, I think it was very weak on the magic. You said that at the beginning of the conversation. It's like some of this stuff's pretty cool, but like you can't get to it. You can't use it unless you kind of cheat and pick a character that's already advanced.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just stuff for the GM.
Create a golem with a fucking mega damage 1d6, 35 fucking mega damage. Like once I'm level 13, that's what you're giving me. I could break that baby down with a fucking Wilkes.
Yeah, and that was another thing that kind of bugged me is that I think actually the psionics were maybe a little more like if you had yourself a mind melter, I think that worked better for you.
Yeah, the psionics were a bit like a lot more like I want to say like usable within the system, like or like powered appropriately.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember where those fucking things are. That was another. Oh yeah, there we go. It's earlier in the book. It's after Mind Melter. It goes straight to psionics. I guess that kind of makes sense. But
what, that it was that early?
Yeah. I just think that's bad. I remember that being a trouble. Like we used psionics so rarely. I just remember playing the game and I'd be like, where the fuck are psionics? And oh yeah, over here. I need speed reading, telepathy, total recall. This stuff's all dope.
Yeah, and if you could do that stuff, well, that's great.
Yeah,
like you actually like had power over situations and people, like where the wizard like even at your glory at level 15, you were still doing shit that got like basically put to sleep by a good fucking round of heavy cannon fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we never did a lot of the only magic I really liked was in I think it was in fucking Phase World or maybe it was Rift's Atlantis.
Atlantis stepped up some magic with the tattoos, and they were high powered, a lot of them.
No, I think it was in Phase World though that they had like time magic, temporal magic. That stuff was fucking great. That's great. Like I was like, okay, now we're creating wizards that they can do something, and they're practically equivalent to the other classes and stuff like that. But there's still lots of room though. Like if you create you just have to have a good campaign. You have to have like a bunch of. You can't have like you can't have one person on your team being like a full conversion Borg, and another person being a juicer, and another person being a crazy, and then someone just doing your Leeline walker. Your wizard or whatever, because like it just becomes very uneven. It becomes very combative. To do the Leeline walker well, I think he would have to be paired with like a rogue scientist and the cyberdoc and
like like weaker characters, so that you could tool the campaign fighting to accommodate your fucking city rat.
I think so, yeah.
Or I guess maybe if you like. Nah, you'd have to you'd have to handle the character a little bit. Like you have to cheat a little bit. You have to pump the PPE, and you have to pump the statistics a little bit. You have to let slide some levels of experience or some spells. And definitely you'd have to retool some magical equipment from other books. And you could probably use a wizard's effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
but you're not supposed to have to do that, right?
Yeah, like the game kind of fucks up if they do that. And I kind of would like to read old reviews of Rifts, as it came out, and see what like the community thought of it. I don't think I don't know how well it's thought of. Like it's not a very good game. Like it's fun for what you can do with it, but as far as like game mechanics goes, it's kind of clunky. The skill, like rolling for skills, you're like, I don't know what to do with skills like repair. Like a lot of the skills just seem really stupid and nothing really hangs on them, and they just kind of sit there pointlessly.
Oh, we used to use them all the time.
Well, we would
You used to
palm
have
things.
us fucking around with like radios or tell us our power armor was broken, and we'd fucking make shitty rolls and have like a little fucking soldering iron or whatever. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe there's things you can do with it, but I just remember I remember other games like of just being a little more elegant in how they handled things, or
Oh,
not.
100%. I mean, I think of the White Wolf system compared to this. Jesus. Like, if you
Yeah.
wanted to just bang out a character in 20 minutes and actually play a fun tabletop game that was, like, fully realized and had adventures and had even power spreads across everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah, and even like rolling for stuff made a lot more sense. It was never as bad as the DC universe, like even the Marvel universe game. Like
I have the old Batman one. I got it from online.
Yeah, and in order to roll for things, like you needed like a chart, and I guess it kind of made sense, but it was just very like you shouldn't need a chart. I think when you get into chart territory, your game lacks finesse, like really lacks finesse. But at the same time, though, like I like for superhero action, I really like that DC system.
Yeah, I remember, and you'd have to go down you'd have to go across the fucking grid with like a ruler to see how you hit.
Yeah, and you're like in Superman with someone with like 20 hit someone with 7, or actually 7 with hit someone with 20, and yeah, and like it kind of made sense. It wasn't the worst thing, but it's good actually for like pointless superhero fights, but that was one thing. I don't think you could do superheroes in Rifts, even though they had Heroes Unlimited.
It was really awkward. It really missed because I remember we acquired some of those books like later on, and I didn't see it. Like flight and like full telekinetic or fucking whatever energy beam powers and stuff. It really didn't fit. It didn't feel right. The mechanics weren't right. I mean, and then just like to think like, oh well, someone with like a fucking like a high initiative and a good aim and a fucking cybernetic eye and a half decent rifle is just gonna fucking shoot you out of the air anyway, and then you can't justify them having like any kind of a high mega damage capacity or anything. So it just didn't.
Yeah. Actually, you know what you just described to me was a Mark Millar comic, where like the superheroes show up and like and then they just get fucking blasted by some like working class asshole. That's or maybe a Garth Ennis comic. I don't know. Once they end up on Rift's Earth, though, like whatever SDC stuff that they're dealing with kind of transforms to MDC. I would imagine that's how I would run it. I don't know, man. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Like trying to take superheroes into Rifts. I think that's maybe
if you were doing it, I'd put them on like a medium low power level, and then probably like have some kind of a hunting campaign where you have to kill these guys flying around like weirdos in the woods or something.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got a superhero infestation. The fucking Justice League showed up through a rift the other day. Fuck.
I killed the big one. He fucked up a tank.
Yeah, and then they enslaved them afterwards, studied them. Yeah, there we go. We got a whole campaign right there.
Ready to rock.
Yeah, you can do anything with Rifts, man. Just like basically like what if peanut butter and jelly came together like all the time? And yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else that I have to say about.
And I don't know if you
Rifts.
can. Like I don't know. I think I'm ready to branch off from that telling of what you can get from this particular role playing game. And also, I don't know if I told you. Well, I'm sure I told you, but I found some of these at the store.
Yeah. You sent me. At the store. Okay.
Hardcover.
Right, recently.
Book of Magic. Yeah, recently.
Yeah. Okay, I know what
store. That's it's a fucking big deal.
Yeah, he's still cooking. I kind of
cooking up something for somebody. I don't know who.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, yeah, I don't. Sorry, audience. We're probably going to talk about more Riffs books going forward, but that's fine. Not every episode's for everyone. Yeah, no, that'll be good. I know where I would like to go next, but we'll figure it out. I know you have been collecting them.
Oh man, I
You've
gotta.
got an excellent collection.
Yeah. So does my ridiculous brother.
Yeah. So we'll come back to this topic. It's a fertile topic. Many things to discuss. I hope. Otherwise, we'll just be like, well, I just read that book. All right.
Okay. Until next
All right.
time, signing off with a solid. What would you give the system out of 10? Well, we haven't reviewed any other systems, so it doesn't matter, I guess.
I guess that's true. Also, I don't have a D10 to roll, so I don't know what to think.
Yeah, probably gonna get a 3, but
yeah.
I'll give this baby a good. Well, it's my favorite, so.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, riffs can do no wrong. It's for anyone who's really into it. You're really into it, and you know that it sucks, but it sucks in a really awesome way. So, perhaps the best way.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.